Good evening, and welcome along to the show. This week we've got a bit of an Eastenders theme going on because Martine McCutcheon and Shaun Williamson will be joining us a little bit later on. On the music front, Daniel James, he's currently number one on the Heritage chart. We'll be hearing his brand new song, and we'll have the new single from Davy McLarnon as well. But we're going to start off by talking movies this week, and the Belfast Film Festival is back between the 3rd and the 12th of November, and I'm pleased to say that Rose and Jessica from the festival join us now in the studio. Welcome. That time of year, once again, and when you look at the programme, especially every year and especially this year, there must be a lot of work goes into choosing those movies every year.
Oh yeah, I mean there's a lot of work. I mean we start months in advance. We begin by we both have two different ways of working, but I start by basically watching loads of films, and Jessica will tell you about how she selects films from festivals from around the world, and we have different areas of focus, but you know we work together to coordinate and pull it all together as a cohesive programme.
So anybody watching this, when they hear you say we watch loads of movies, I think you guys have got the best gig in the world.
I mean, I can't lie. I mean, it's a good gig.
No, absolutely right. Yeah. We do. We have the best job in the
Yeah.
world. Sorry, everybody. We have the best job in the world.
Agree. Yeah.
Jessica, tell us about some of this year's highlights. Obviously, we've discovered Patrick Kielty's got a movie out. We've seen him on TV for years. We've seen him do stand-up. Is he going to transfer onto the big screen?
Well, that's right. I mean, that's the $64,000 question. Yes, it's our opening film is Ballywalter, which is a world premiere. Actually, I think Rose can tell you a little bit more about it than I can because it's technically from the UK and Ireland section. So I'm more international. But Rose, if you're
Yeah. So I mean, as you say, it's Paddy Kielty's first acting role, and we're really excited to have the film. It's written by Stacey Gregg, whose film she also is she's a writer, but she's also a director, and her film Here Before closed the festival last year. It's a first feature by Prasanna Raja, and he is also an actor. So he's actually you'll actually see him in the new series of The Crown, which is coming out soon on Netflix. So he's a multi-talented guy, and we're really excited to have him in Belfast for his first feature.
Excellent. Okay, so as well as the world premiere of Paddy Kielty's new movie, what other big things have we got? And who else is coming? What about big names this year? Who's coming to the festival?
Well, I mean, the biggest development, I suppose, for us as well, and especially for me as international programmer, I think is that the development of a new international competition. It's the first time ever that the Belfast Film Festival has run an international competition, and so when we were designing it back in the day, we were, thinking like, because this is a festival for so many of us of so many firsts, that we wanted to celebrate first and second filmmakers. So we've selected 8 films from around the world, which are all first or second films, to bring here to the competition. And as a result of that, one of the exciting things about launching a competition is that you get to pick a jury, of course. And so one of our major guests that we have coming is the president of our jury, who's Andre Arnold, who's the Oscar-winning filmmaker Andre Arnold. And also Stephen Ray is going to be on our jury as well, and the third jury member is Catherine Bray, who is a producer and a consultant with the British Council. So we have this very illustrious jury. So it was very much up to us to make sure that the competition would be up to their standards. I suppose would be a selection of films, and I think really the most exciting thing for me certainly was, because I travel around to all of the international festivals, and so it was really wonderful to be able to go this year to do the circuit, which I normally do as a film critic, but to be able to do it with this other eye on bringing films specifically for this competition. And it's so gratifying to be able to champion especially emerging filmmakers from around the world. And a lot of these films, I want to stress, like a lot of these films, this is the only chance that Belfast audiences are going to get to see these films on the big screen, the way they're designed to be seen. So so everybody come. It's an amazing lineup.
Give us a taste. What have we got to look forward to? What's some of these films about?
Well, in the international competition, there's just the 8 titles. There's a UK film called Blue Jean, that's probably one of the ones that might actually get a release. But then there are other ones. There's a film from Switzerland called Unrest, which is a completely peculiar film. I guarantee you will not have another 2 hours like it in the cinema if you come and see Unrest. Then there's A Return to Seoul, which is a really beautiful film from a filmmaker called Davy Cho, which is actually a French-Korean co-production. So I mean, we have a vast range of countries and of territories represented just in the competition alone. And that's only 8 films, so I haven't even got onto our new cinema section, which is the sort of the larger section of just like, and a lot of those films are award winners from other festivals. We have a huge selection of films that have come straight from Cannes to us, and you know, all of these are Northern Irish premieres, and some of them are even UK and Ireland premieres as well. So yeah, there's a lot of things going on. We also have various sidebars. One of the most important and most prominent of them, I think Rose will agree, is the Ukrainian focus that we have. So we have 5 Ukrainian films, 3 of which are brand new films, and one of which is a UK and Ireland premiere called Luxembourg, and it's a fantastic film. We're having the filmmaker Antonio Lukic come over, and one of the things I think is so delightful about that film especially is that it's a comedy, and so despite the fact that it is obviously in the context of incredibly troubled times and was made under incredibly adverse circumstances, it's this beautiful human comedy about fathers and sons.
Wow, okay. What about any local stuff, any good Irish stuff in the festival this year?
Yeah, absolutely. There's actually 2 fantastic Irish films that are from the sort of Irish art house tradition. One is called Hole in the Head by Dean Kavanagh, and it is a really interesting film about this projectionist who he tries to recreate his childhood with actors and like filming them, and it's a really interesting film. He sort of has this condition where he's basically lost his memory. He can't remember parts of his childhood, so he's trying to recreate this experience in the house that he grew up in. So that's like a really interesting film, and it uses like the landscape really amazingly, and it's very funny and weird and dark, and there's some really surprising elements to it. It's a really great film. And then there's another film called The Cry of Granuaile, which is by Donal Foreman. And that is again in a really great sort of it's sort of like a homage to 20th century art house cinema from Ireland, and it's about this filmmaker from America who comes over to Ireland to make a film about Granuaile, the pirate queen, about she was a historical figure, but also like sort of mythological, and there's all these stories around her. So they go to the west of Ireland to these to I think Clare Island, and they they go on this kind of voyage of discovery, and these make friends with the islanders. And again, it's very funny and very light, but it's just a great film about filmmaking, about I guess like this sort of the romantic view of Ireland from the US. She's an American filmmaker, and all these things coming together, and it's very clever, and it's great.
Brilliant. Jessica, I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to ask you to give us one more of your top picks for this year's festival. What are you going to give us?
This is really hard because so many of it, they're all so amazing. I think I'm going to cheat a little bit and call out a section that I haven't mentioned yet. So very close to my heart, there's a section that we're actually co-presenting with our sister festival, Docs Ireland, which runs in June every year. It's called Blurred Lines, and this section of 5 films, 4 films and a project, is for films that aren't exactly documentaries but also aren't exactly narrative fiction. So they kind of cross over in interesting ways. They're hybrids, and they often comment on each other in various different ways. So the 4 films in that section, I would say, are just really fantastic. There's a very small film called My Mexican Pretzel, which is the one which is a really, really tiny film, and yet it seems to be the one that, like, having been showing all of these films to the team and been sharing them all with the team, it is the one that everybody seems to have really embraced. So I mean, that's a huge one. And then from our main selection as well, I do want to stress that we do actually have quite a lot of big titles with sort of famous people in them, and so for me, I think of that area, the fact that we have The Wonder with Florence Pugh, which is fantastic, a really fantastic film directed by Sebastian Lelio, and Corsage with Vicky Creeps, which is one of my favourites of the festival year.
Okay, I'm going to put you in the spot, Rose. What have you got for us?
Yeah, I mean, again, there's so much, it's really hard to sort of pin down one or two things. But we have, at the festival, we have a tradition of showing off, you know, the sort of unique Northern Irish television archive that we have here. And so we're doing some events around that with Northern Ireland Screen's digital film archive. And we're having a special archive screening in, it's sort of like, it's going to be on for the duration of the festival, so you can go every day, and it's basically an exhibition style screening based in the Bank of Ireland building on Royal Avenue, so which is obviously like a landmark of Belfast, and it's very, very rare to get an opportunity to go inside, so we're really excited about that, and people will be able to go in and experience the building as well as the archive footage. The event is called Vox Populi, the voice of the people. So it's actually the Vox Pops interviews from the UTV archive, and it's all these opinions of the people of Belfast, you know, from the 1960s. That's the time frame. So it's a great way to sort of interact with the space and the city, and also with the opinions of people, which haven't changed that much. I mean, there's a lot. You know, it's quite broad, but some of the things people say are really quite surprising. So we're really quite excited about that one. And there's other archive events as well. There's actually going to be this one-off screening of a forgotten gem called Open Asylum, which is by a filmmaker called Colm Villa, and he made it in Derry over a few years in the early 80s. And it's about this man who's kind of going through this breakup. He's not enjoying his life, but he goes through the city, sort of just avoiding these instances of violence that happen. You know, it's a comment on what life was like there at the time, but it's all kind of happening under his nose. He never really sees it. So that is also brilliant because it's been rescored by the Digital Film Archive, and Linley Hamilton, the trumpeter, has added this sort of film noir style jazz score, and that's going to be performed live at the screening. So we're really excited about that. And yeah, there's also another event called The Weird and the Eerie, which is taking archive from BBC Northern Ireland as well as UTV, and it's all the very strange stuff that's in the archive, all the supernatural things, you know, sightings of ghosts and people talking about fairy trees being pulled up, and it's all going to be put together and performed and shown live, with a live accompaniment of music from the DJ Vendetta Suite, who's from Newton Arts. So that's going to be really good as well. That's going to be in St. Joseph's Church. So a bit of some spooky atmosphere there as well for
Excellent.
Autumn.
So lots to look forward to. All the programme is on the website. Give us the website details.
BelfastFilmFestival.org.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for coming in, and the best of luck with the festival.
Cheers, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, time to meet our next guest, and in light of National Cholesterol Month, actress Martine McCutcheon has been raising awareness about the importance of getting our cholesterol levels checked on a regular basis. And I'm pleased to say Martine joins us now on the line. How are you?
I am really well, thank you. Very, very happy to be here. I've been working with Flora Proactive for a couple of years now, hopefully successfully, in raising awareness. And the message is quite simple, but also quite powerful, which is that the latest kind of Flora Proactive Commission reveals that although 9 in 10 Brits know what cholesterol is, nearly half of them don't know what their levels are. And it's something that you can manage. It's something that can be treatable. It's something that can make your life so much better. And a lot of people are like, I don't know how I get tested. And something simple like booking to go and see your GP, or even going to your local pharmacy and getting a finger prick test, can let you know where you are, where you're at, and therefore you can deal with it from there. And obviously, you know, making sure that you have Flora Proactive as part of your diet, vegetables, fruit, walking every day, a good healthy lifestyle is something that can make such a huge difference. So I'm there to flag up that simple but potent message and hopefully successfully get more people to sort themselves out with it.
So your main reason for getting involved in this campaign is because you had high cholesterol in your family for years, so you know only too well about the importance of getting checkups, don't you?
I was aware of it. It was something that a lot of people in my family have suffered with, and it was something that I was kind of wary of and was something that I wanted to prevent. So, because there's also diabetes in the family, so I kind of just wanted to just make sure generally that I took care of myself and I raised a message for them and helped them as well, my loved ones. Generally, like I say, it's something that there are so many things now that, you know, we're all worried about health-wise. And this is something that I think you can actually have some sort of empowerment with, and that you can have some knowledge with, and you actually can do something about. Yeah. So for me, it was a perfect fit to get involved and to spread the word, because, you know, I genuinely have experience of people around me having it, myself preventing it, and it is something that's doable.
So give us some small steps then that we can take to preventing high cholesterol levels. Obviously, it's all to do with your diet, isn't it?
Yeah. I would say, well, first and foremost, like I said, make sure you get tested, know where you're at, know what your levels are. Secondly, I would say have loads of fruit and veg in your diet. Again, we don't have enough of it. Lean protein. I would also say make sure that, you know, even if you're not a massive exercise fan, I'm not, but walking, just having a good low impact walking every day is good for your mind, mental health, physical health. And that's amazing for your levels too. And obviously, where you can, to have Flora Proactive instead of anything that's too fatty. You know, all of those things are all contributing factors. And they're all things that sound so simple, but they are just so doable. And it's just becomes a part of the way of your life. Before you know it, it's kind of like your little health Bible of what you do. And it's amazing the results that can be seen just by doing those things.
Now, coming back to the research, we've discovered as well that 3 in 10 people don't know where to go to get their cholesterol level checked. Isn't that correct?
I know. And I think, again, we've been so sort of saturated with so many other things going on in the world right now and other scary health issues that maybe the message somewhere has been blocked, or they think it's going to be more confusing than it actually is. And again, it's actually really simple. You can literally go and get it tested with your GP. And if that's difficult right now, because we all know, you know, the NHS is swamped or whatever, you can go to your local pharmacy and you can get a finger prick test and find out there. So, you know, it is that simple. It really is.
And of course, it is a very quick procedure, so there's no excuse now for not getting your levels checked.
No. And literally, it's like a little scratch. You hardly feel anything. And yeah, so again, why wouldn't you do it? Again, you want to feel in the ways we can nowadays. I think we want to feel like we can take care of our health more than ever, with the things that we do have control over. And I think that, you know, doing those sorts of things and making the right choices, it does empower you. It does make you feel like you're doing your bit for your body.
Now, what about some top health tips from you then? Because you look like you haven't aged in about 20 years.
I love you. Thank you so much. You can come again. For me, I would definitely say that as the years have gone by, I've made sure that I do have loads of fruit and veg. It's something that in this day and age where there's so much sort of fast processed food, things that you just want to grab that you think's easier, it can actually in the long run make you feel quite unwell. It can affect your skin, it can affect your digestion, it can affect your cholesterol, all of those things. So for me, it is about getting loads of fruit and veg in. And it's so true that, you know, the inside out, I drink loads of water. I also, you know, don't get me wrong, I'm no saint. You know, I love a bit of chocolate. I love the odd little soft drink here and there. But for me, it's that 80-20 rule. And 80% of the time, I know that, you know, during the day, I'm taking care of myself and I'm doing, I love to juice as well. And I do love, you know, I love my boiled egg and soldiers. So when I do, I have my Flora Proactive on my soldiers instead of butter or whatever. I do loads of walking. That gets the circulation going, the oxygen going, plumps up the skin. So yeah, just those things that kind of not reinventing the wheel at all, but just actually doing it.
Now I see from your fabulous backdrop there, you've got those great pianos behind you. So does that mean you're back in the recording studio? Is there some new music from you on the horizon?
Yes, I am. Basically, my husband is a songwriter and producer for many different artists. And so I get that kind of temptation. I see artists coming and going all the time to the studio. And we were literally having a talk about a month ago. And I was saying that my last album was out, I think it was about 4 years or something ago now. And that I would love to record again and go and tour again. And just, I love that interaction with the audience. And I think between the pandemic and between everybody getting back on their feet again, it's been sort of something that's been on the back burner, but I'd absolutely love to. I've been doing TVs and stuff like that and little bits and bobs in films, but I think that live audience, that feeling, yeah, I'd love to.
And I actually remember getting the CD of Perfect Moment and playing that on the radio for the first time. That was such a big song, and a song that was so good to you, wasn't it?
Do you know what? It's something that I just love. I genuinely still love singing that song, and it's not an easy sing. It seems easy, but it's actually quite a difficult sing. But I absolutely love singing that song. That there's something about it that when it starts, it just gives people goosebumps. It's just unashamedly romantic, completely unapologetic. And I seem to have had that thing in my career where it's been about, you know, no apologies, love and romance, be it Love Actually, be it stuff like Perfect Moment, that kind of like, I don't know, that embracing the love in your life story.
So what about your new stuff then? Is that going to be full of big ballads?
I think for the new stuff, I think we're literally going to just like try stuff out, see how we go, see what happens. The last album that I did was called Lost and Found. And that had quite a lot of kind of an LA kind of rocky vibe to it because we've been in America a lot. But again, it still had some big ballads on there. I love a ballad because I think I love it when you can really sing. Yeah. And you really get to sort of belt some notes out, which you can't always do with all pop songs. So yeah, for me, I think it'll probably be a mixture. You know, I love the pop classics. I love the feel-good stuff, but I also love those moments with the spotlight on you where you just get to show your voice and just hopefully give people a little bit of magic.
Now, we do have a bit of an Eastenders theme going on the show this week. Shaun Williamson, he's coming on a bit later on, but do you miss Eastenders?
Do you know, I miss the, one thing I will say that I never had quite again was the camaraderie that we had together. We all knew at a time when there were kind of only 4 channels. It seems like I'm talking about 60 years ago, doesn't it? But at a time there's only about 4 or 5 channels. We were so united. We all knew each other's real names, but everybody else felt like they knew us as our characters, and felt like they were growing up with us and they were living their lives with us as the backdrop, you know. And it was such a huge show, like with, I think it was like 22 million viewers at times. And so it was such an honor to be part of it, but it was good I was so young, and it was good to have people like Shaun, like Ross, like Barbara, who had experience, who could help you laugh at it all, who had your back, who helped you with the press, because it's a lot to take on very, very young. And I was still, a teenager, basically. I was 18. So they were brilliant, and they really looked after you. And that's the thing that I think I miss. I think now when you do different jobs, you're not with each other for 4 years like I was in the show. You're there for kind of like maybe a year max, or 6 months or 3 months, and then you're on to the next kind of like traveling circus, if you like. But with EastEnders, it did feel like family.
And what about that final scene when we said goodbye to Tiffany with yourself and Ross Kemp? That has to be one of the most emotional scenes ever in Soapland.
Well, I mean, it was emotional for me, for sure. It was emotional for everybody. But it was something that, if you're going to go, what a way to go, eh? So it was, such an amazing outlet for me the profile that it gave me then gave me the opportunity to go on and fulfill other dreams that I never thought in a million years I'd be able to do. I never thought I'd be having #1s and platinum albums and traveling and living in New York. And I mean, for a girl from Dalston, that just didn't happen to people like us. And EastEnders in itself was huge. And so what it gave me was amazing. And I'll forever be grateful for it, because I know without it, none of the other stuff would have happened. And I also know that whilst I was there, I just felt so loved and looked after. So forever grateful for that show.
And you mentioned the late, great Barbara Windsor there. What was she like to work with?
Oh, yeah. I first worked with Barbara, actually, when I did my first ever TV show when I was 10 years old. Wow. And it was a BBC children's TV show called Bluebirds. And I met her, and I'd seen, some of the Carry On movies as a kid in the background on the TV. And I was just in absolute awe. I had a real soft spot for her. I fell a little bit in love with her. And then years later, when I did EastEnders, I never thought in a million years she'd remember me. And she did. And she was like, oh my goodness, look at you. You've blossomed. You look gorgeous. I was like, oh my God. And I remember when I was a kid, and our last day of filming Bluebirds, I bought her this little toiletry bag because I was just so obsessed with her. And I kind of thought, oh God, I'm going to miss her so much. I became really attached. And I didn't think it would be, the same way the other way around. And she just, she kind of took me under her wing. We'd have many a chat in her dressing room, and she was definitely one of my closest, bestest friends on set, for sure.
Well, Martine, sadly we're out of time. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. Thanks for the advice on the cholesterol as well. And when that new music's ready, send it to us and we'll give it a spin on the radio. Thank you for joining us.
So much it plays on my mind. I didn't know you felt that way. You never said a word. You planned inside to walk away and prove to me you never really cared. Do you remember? Do hang on to the past. I need to shake this off. I want to move on. Takes courage to try. The things we've planned are over now. I've got to let them go. I've got to let them go. I hope in time I'll realize that living was the best for us both. Do you remember me? How we planned? Do you remember how we first met? Do you remember when we used to laugh? But it's all over now. It's all over. I just don't see. Do you remember me? How we planned? Do you remember how we first met? Do you remember when we used to laugh? But it's all over now. I just don't see you anymore. Do you remember me? How we planned? Do you remember how we first met? Do you remember when we used to laugh? But it's all over now, baby, baby. I just don't see. Do you remember me? How we planned? Do you remember how we first met? Do you
There we go. That is the song that is number one on the Heritage Chart show. Of course, we show Mike Reed's Heritage Chart here on NVTV. That's Daniel James. That's Do You Remember Me? And the man himself joins us in the studio. Welcome to Belfast. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you for having me, Robin. And when you give me that intro, I nearly got up and did a bit of a jig because I am number one on the Heritage Chart this week, and I'm still pinching myself.
Exactly, because the Heritage Chart, I mean, it's great. And it's great for artists like yourself, but even it's great to have a number one again, isn't it?
A number one. I mean, I never thought when I was in Yale in the 90s, when that was over, and it didn't end very well for me. It ended quite badly, and I lost everything, and I left the business.
Right.
Completely left the business. Never thought I would sing again. Some people probably hoped I wouldn't. But on a serious level, I mean, I just left the business. I had a breakdown, I lost everything, and it took me a long time to rehabilitate myself. You know, the sad thing for me was I didn't know Elton John, because I read in the papers all these rock and pop stars, oh, I had a breakdown, but Elton saved me. And I'm like, where was Elton for me?
Yes,
I just didn't have his phone number.
Yeah,
exactly, I did have an Elton, but it was the wrong one. So basically, I licked my wounds, and then I moved to New York, and nobody knew me there, thank goodness. I mean, Yell had recorded in LA.
Yeah.
We'd recorded with Michael J, Martika's producer.
Of course.
But we'd never released there, so it was easy for me to be anonymous there. Nobody cared who I was.
Yeah.
And I ended up in a play over there, and then I went to LA, and I was in an episode of something called Passions for NBC, and it slowly got my confidence back again, because I completely lost confidence, really. I think sometimes in life, when you're passionate about something and you have it dragged away from you, it can have a bit of, whatever walk of life you're in, whether you're a coal miner, whatever job you're in, if you're passionate about it, or if it's your living. I think it can be very hard. So it took me a while, but I found my feet, did the TV work, and then I came back to England, and I started doing little acting jobs and stuff, Coronation Street, Last Tango in Halifax, Casualty, Doctors, and I sound like the Radio Times, don't I? And Eastenders. And then, unfortunately for me, my mum became very ill. So I took some time out to be my mum's carer. So again, I kind of put the business on the side.
Yeah.
But this was voluntary. I mean, it was something I had to do. And then when Mum passed away, lockdown started, so there was nothing happening, and I was just counting sheep, so to speak.
So how did the music then reappear? How did that happen?
Well, in lockdown, I mean, the first lockdown, everybody took it very seriously, and so I just went out for a walk on a night. That I was in London. I'm originally from the northeast of England, but I was in London on my own. All my family were up home, and I remember one afternoon I'd seen this news report about a care home, and there was a lady. She had dementia, and they wouldn't let. Obviously, the kids couldn't go in, and she put her hands up against the glass, and the daughter put her hands on the other side, and they were both crying. Yeah. And the mum's dementia was getting worse, and it was just, for a lot of people, a very difficult situation. And I went out for my walk that night, and I walked quickly, and literally out of nowhere, these words: "When the world turns its head, there are people around me with their hearts in their mouths, not knowing the right way they should turn." Watching hair turning grey, seeing children turn into adults, days running away, it's falling apart at the seams. They came out of nowhere, genuinely. Decades had gone by. I turned on my feet. There was only a fox in the street, there was nobody about. I literally ran home, because I did have my phone with me, and I sang it into the phone. Wow. And I went to bed, because if you don't do it that night, you won't remember it when you wake up the next day. So I got up the next morning and I put it on and I thought, where did that come from? Well, I was out like a shot that night. Yeah. I went walking for the next 2 months and I wrote half a dozen songs. Yeah. And I thought, what am I going to do? And then when lockdown eased a little bit, I went in the studio. But the first time that I sung into the mic, the engineer stopped after about 3 lines and I thought, oh no, I'm crap. And he said, have a listen back. I was so angry with myself. Because when I heard my voice back, I thought, why did you leave it so long? This is something you really love doing, and you've not done it for decades. And I think the shock and the loss, because Yell had been together about 4 years. We toured the world. We were on 30 magazine covers just for the first single. I mean, it was like wham bam, and we were on top of the pops. It was fantastic, but because it ended just like that, I turned it in on myself. I'd blamed myself. And for years, I could watch The X Factor. I could watch Britain's Got Talent. I could watch rock groups on Jules Holland's show. I never once looked and thought, I want to do that again. I never once looked and thought, I used to do that. Yeah. I'd put it in a box so far at the back, I'd buried it, which I think sometimes you can do with grief. Yeah. And I'd put it so far away. And so when I heard myself in the studio, I was annoyed with myself because I thought, you idiot. This is something you love doing. What did you do this to yourself for? Yeah. But like I say, sometimes you can be rocked so badly that it's a self-protection thing. Yeah. And all I'd say to anybody listening who's going through a tough time, talk to somebody. Because I genuinely, I know I joked about not knowing Elton John, but in the music business, there's no HR.
No, exactly, yeah.
There's no union. I mean, there is a musicians union, but they're not, there's no one you can turn to. And my mum and dad, working class, lovely people, they felt out of their depth. They could just put their arms around me. But, I'd lost my home. I was buying a home for my mum and dad. And because it ended so badly, as I say, I turned it on myself. But I just wish at the time that I'd found a way to get it off my chest, because I bottled it up for years.
So you must have been very young then when Yell came along.
I was just a child.
Yeah. Yeah, but I remember the song. I remember Instant Replay.
You set my lips on fire. Yeah, going to a bar.
You could,
you could hear it everywhere. And then we had One Thing Leads to Another. We had Let's Go Round Again. Of course, it was Simon Cowell. You see, I know this sounds strange. I didn't want to sign with Simon Cowell, right? Not because I didn't like the man, but we did these showcases, and 2 record companies wanted to sign us. One was CBS, who turned into Sony Music, and one was Simon with Fanfare Records. But Simon loved cover versions. Yes. And I was a singer-songwriter. I know it sounds a little bit pretentious, but I'd written songs. When I'd got together with the other guy in the group, I'd gone to his house, for 18 months with songs. And I'd been badgering Simon, can we do one of our own? Can we do one of our own? Typical of a band, you know. And we'd be butting heads all the time, Sam and I, in a kind of friendly way, ish. And Paul and I in the band, we'd been working for 4 years flat out, and we went to Ibiza. And we were in a bar in Ibiza at 2 o'clock in the morning, and the dance floor was empty. And I heard 10, 9. Well, the floor filled, but not just with girls, guys as well. And I looked at my partner in the group and I said, you know what, if he wants us to do a cover, this is the one. I says, look, guys like it as well. It's not just girls dancing. So when we got back to the to Simon's office, you know, we walked in, sun-tanned, espadrilles on, thinking we were the bee's knees. And we thought we had the best tan in the world. Of course, Simon's sitting with his feet up on the desk. Hello, darling, how are you? You know, because he was very lovely in them days. And, of course, he was chocolate brown. He looked like the love child of David Dickinson and God knows who. And we're stood there, seriously, and I'm looking at him thinking, how come you're browner than us and we've been to Ibiza? Anyway, I said, Simon, you'll be very pleased to know that we've found the cover, because me and him had been batting heads for months, and I was forever saying, you know, do one of ours. So he said, and which one is it? Well, just at that moment, he swung his legs off the table with his Cuban heels and dropped this book on the floor. So being the polite lad I am, I bent down and picked the book up. I mean, I was going to bash him on the head with it. But I picked the book up. Well, what people didn't know is Simon used to sleep with the Guinness Book of Hit Singles under his pillow. He probably had a few other things under there as well, but I only know about the British Book of Hit Singles. So he said, open it. And it fell open. The night before, he'd been sitting in bed looking at songs for us. And he'd folded a page over. Instant replay down. Wow. So that was the moment I thought, right, stop fighting this. Go with it, because someone's point, this is fate. You know, this is your guardian angel, which I believe in all that kind of stuff. So we went with it. And of course, as soon as I said yes, we were, you know, photo sessions and stylists. By the way, never have a stylist. He got us a stylist. Honestly, the stuff he put me in, I didn't want to come out the wardrobe.
But I remember those original photographs because they went into Smash Hits magazine. And when you think about that at the time, you guys had done it just before boy bands became big. So you were kind of the template, I think.
I hated the idea that later on everyone was, you know, it was like, you know, boy band. No, I'm a grown man, you know. I write songs, you know. But the thing was, I'd succumbed to this idea of the funniest thing is, Simon actually wanted us to do it in falsetto. Can you imagine? I mean, not only do I not want to do a cover version. So we're in the studio, Nigel Wright, who'd been in the band Shack Attack in the 80s. Nigel was producer, and we turned up on a Saturday morning to record it, because Simon, you know, didn't turn up till lunchtime, you know, turned up in the Porsche, you know, and he walked in and said, well, darlings, let me hear the song, you know. So we're sitting in the studio, and of course, Paul and I are standing there like two eager beavers. So Nigel puts it on, because we'd recorded in the morning. We were chuffed as little acorns. He played it, and he said, I've got an idea. Well, as soon as Simon says he's an idea, your heart's pumping like this, because you think, what is it now? What is he going to do? And he said, I'd like you to sing it in falsetto. Well, if you'd seen my face, I was like... There was two F's coming, and it wasn't just falsetto. You know? And I was like, you have got to be joking. So and he said no, and I thought, we've just signed this deal. He's put loads of money into the group. What am I going to do? So we went back into the booth, and I said to Paul, I made sure the mic was off, and I said, we're going to have to really be clever here. We're gonna have to look like we really want to do it, and we're cooperating, but we're going to have to do the worst falsetto ever. I said, don't look at me, because I'll be on the floor laughing. I won't look at you. So the song, you know, so we're like, let's make it look like we really want to do this, but we'll do it really badly. So the music came on, 10, da 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 da. Well, I've got the first few lines. So I'm going to back off the mic a little bit, because I'm going to do the song. So the beat comes on, and I'm slightly looking off, and I go, you set my lips on fire, you want the key to my heart. And we carried on. The whole 3/4 of the way through the song, there was cats at the door. What was worse was Simon let it go on. So in my mind, I'm thinking, he likes this. He actually thinks this is good. I'm doomed. Not only am I doing a cover version, I'm going to have to spend the next 5 years singing falsetto. Anyway, 3/4 of the song, and of course the middle 8 comes. Da, 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 and we just suddenly hear this. And it's Simon, and he bangs on the desk. And we look up, and of course, by that time, I think I must have clenched my fist so much not to laugh.
Yeah.
So I turned, and we both looked through the glass, and he just went like this. And we thought, this is it, he's going to dump us now,
Yeah.
you know? We'd already turned CBS down. We couldn't go crawling back.
No, exactly.
So we walk in, and he's like this. And it was like an eternity.
Yeah.
It was like an eternity. It's like standing in front of the headmaster, you know? And suddenly he burst into a big grin. He started, I mean, Simon and grinning, you know?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
when he grins now, you've got to do this, bless him. But in those days, his teeth weren't quite as white. So he said, he did an amazing grin, and he went, boys, I think you were right. Darlings, you were right.
Yeah.
And we just went back in the studio, finished the choruses off. And Bob's your uncle, thank God. Because, you know, cover version and falsetto.
Yeah, exactly,
Don't get
yes.
me wrong. I love the Bee Gees.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be the Bee Gees.
You don't want to be the... All right. Well, do you remember me? Number 1 on the Heritage
Please
chart.
vote on the Heritage chart.
We've got to keep voting. Congratulations on that, Daniel. Thank you so much for coming to Belfast. It's been amazing.
Thank you. It's great to be back.
Good to see you. Thank you. Okay, next up on the show this evening, we're talking sleep, snoring and sanity. Is bad snoring a legitimate reason to end a relationship? How many of us have faked a good snore? And who is the loudest snorer? Well, I reckon it might just be Shaun Williamson, who joins us now on the line. Shaun, how are you?
Hi, Robin. Yeah, it's pretty bad, mate. It's pretty, or it was. We'll go on to why it isn't so bad soon. But I've had some, you know, some experiences. One of the worst ones, which prompted me to get into the snoring thing today, is it was less than a month ago. Myself and my wife have been on a long road trip of work. We're doing one-nighters all over the country. And by the end of it, I was exhausted, and I had a few drinks and went to bed. But we were in a hotel room, which is another reason we'll go on to why it was a problem. And in the morning, she was laying there, not looking very impressed, and I'd snored apparently from midnight till 5 in the morning, literally non-stop, and she couldn't wake me. I was totally non-responsive. And of course, the trouble is, in a hotel room, you've got no place of sanctuary unless you really enjoy sleeping in baths. Yes. So, you know, it's different. We're lucky at home. We have other bedrooms that people can use. But obviously, for people living in a starter home or a one-bed flat, they often don't have that place of sanctuary. So it can be a massive problem in a relationship, huge.
So how loud do you reckon your snoring is then?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, she ended up taping it for me, it surprised me. I mean, it sounded like a drill. You know, it sounded awful, and you think, oh well, really? Am I honestly that bad? Because that's the other thing. It's a selfish problem. Yeah. Because you inflict it on someone. I mean, obviously, it's no great shakes for the snorer, because it can affect your sleep pattern, and you can develop sleep apnea, which nobody wants. No. You start stopping breathing in your sleep. And obviously, if there's no one there to help you, I mean, we won't go. Terrible things can happen anyway. So yeah, I was as shocked as anyone to hear it. It was appalling. So I thought, okay, let's do something about this. And there's a product called Mute. I mean, it's worked for me, and basically, what it is, it's like a nasal stent, really. Right. But it's made of medical grade polymer, so it's quite pliable. And you just insert it very gently into your nose, and what it does, it keeps those nasal passages open at night, because one of the main problems is when the nasal passages restrict at night, you're forced to breathe more through your mouth, and that's what creates that real deep, horrible, you know, drill type noise. And even now I'm just breathing better. Even having just put that in, I could really take in more air.
So was that thing uncomfortable then?
No, that's what I'm coming on to. I'm the last person who I thought could sleep with something up their nose. I'm not that. I'm a little bit, because I have tried other things in the past, and that's fine. I mean, like I say, because it's polymer, it's pliable, so it fits in comfortably. It molds to your nose, and I'm telling you now, I can barely feel that it's in. So particularly if you're tired enough, you're going to go to sleep. You're not even going to realise it's in your nose. So all I can say is it's worked for me.
So your wife is finally getting a good night's sleep now then?
Well, yeah, she said it sort of changed from occasionally I still snore, but it's changed more into a more like heavy breathing.
Yes.
which is a lot easier to fall asleep to for your partner, obviously, than lying next to a Kangol drill, you know.
So if people want to get some information on that device, where can they go to get that from?
Well, if they want more information, they can go to mutesnoring.com, but you can get it from Amazon online, the usual places, Amazon UK, Holland and Barrett. In Northern Ireland, of course, you get it from Medicare.
Yeah.
They stock it, and all good chemists, as they always say on the adverts. So yeah, it's out there. It's in the shops, and you can find out more online. Just put in Mute, and it'll lead you, and hopefully it'll work the same for you as it has for me.
I did do some research before coming on air, and I discovered that the loudest snorer in the UK is a lady called Jenny Chapman. And wait for this, it was registered that her snore was as loud as 111 decibels, which is roughly the same as a low-flying jet.
I mean, that's just ridiculous. I mean, ironically, the night that I said what I had in that hotel room where I just basically passed out for 5 hours, apparently somebody knocked on the door at 4 a.m, and my wife just said, "I know."
Yeah, apparently her partner hasn't had a good night's sleep for around 30 years.
See what I mean? And it is. That's one of the problems. It is. We do find it comical, you know. Yeah. It's like piles, you know what I mean? Neither of them particularly, but there you go. But it's a deadly serious problem, you know. But it has got this side to it where we think it's quite comical because it's, I suppose, because of the nature of the noise, I suppose. But yeah, your marriages have broken up over it. Mr. Chapman's a trooper.
So Shaun, the last time we had you on the show, you were singing your way around the country with karaoke. Is that still happening?
Yes, we're going all over with it. We've been all over. Sadly, nothing in lovely Ireland yet, or Scotland. I don't know why, but yeah, literally all over. What's coming up? Oh, Preston, Hammersmith, all over. Billericay, you know. We've been up to Stockton-on-Tees near Middlesbrough. We've been down to Plymouth. We've been all over, but I'd love to bring it to Ireland. You know, I've got family ties over there. Yeah. My late father was an Enniskillen man, so any chance to get back to Northern Ireland, absolutely love it, or Ireland full stop.
Well, if there's a venue watching this now, hopefully we can get karaoke to Northern Ireland sometime soon.
Get it on. I'd love to come back. I'd love to.
Now, talking about singing, things just seem to happen to you. And you recently did a duet with Sam Fender, didn't you?
That was the most mad evening. I was on my way to Truckfest at Oxford to do karaoke. And we got a text from the organisers who said Sam Fender's team said they might be up for doing something with you. Are you up for it? I went, yeah. I mean, you know, I'm nearly 60, so I know his hit, 17 Going Under. Yeah. And I knew he'd done a brilliant version of it at Glastonbury. And I saw him present a documentary about do you remember the old folk rock band Lindisfarne? Yeah. He presented a documentary, if you haven't watched it, about their founder and lead singer Alan Hull. Fascinating. So I knew he was very, very passionate about his music. So I went, look, great. So I went and met him, the nicest man you'll ever meet. And he said, we're going to do one of my songs. Do you want to, you know, come on stage and sing with me? I said, yeah, that'd be great. And then I said to my wife, I don't know what this song, I've never heard this song in my life. So we went away around the corner. And I just played it about 30 times on my phone. And at least I managed to learn the chorus. Yeah. And then I just joined him on. I didn't want to ruin his song, so I just did backing vocals during his chorus. So yeah, 20,000 people. It was fantastic.
Now, as I keep saying on the show this evening, we have a bit of an Eastenders reunion going on. Obviously, we had Martine McCutcheon on earlier on. You and Martine actually started in Eastenders around the same time, didn't you?
Yes, it was all within the same month. Myself, Martine, and Barbara Windsor. A lot of people don't remember. Years ago, Peggy was played by a different actress. Yeah. And then they managed to get Barbara for the role, and we all started round about October, November '94. But Martine, obviously, she had a very successful singing career as well, #1 singles and all sorts of things. So yeah, she's a lovely lady. She really is.
And what about your greatest moment on Eastenders then? What's the big standout moment as Barry then?
Well, I'm particularly proud of the marriages. I mean. When I got married on Millennium Eve, it was a double wedding. It was Ian Beale and Melanie Owen, Tamsin Elthwaite's character, and myself and Lucy Speed, who played Natalie. I mean, yeah, we've got 20 million people, you know, which is 2 million people more than watched Prince Harry's wedding, which is, it's ridiculous when you think about it. But even more ridiculous when you think Dirty Den and Angie, 1986, the divorce papers, 30 million people. roughly the same amount of people who watched the Queen's funeral. I mean, there's extraordinary figures, but there was only 4 channels. You know, there's only a documentary about cheese on the other side. Do you know what I mean?
And do you miss EastEnders?
A part of me, but I made sure I did 10 years, and I made sure I'd had enough. So I'll always be grateful to it. You'll never hear me badmouth it. I mean, I think they could do a bit more comedy. I really do. Coronation Street and Emmerdale still write very good comedy for their characters. EastEnders can get a little bit dark, but I owe it pretty much everything, really. So even though I'm lumbered with Barry from EastEnders, you're better off being known in the business for anything than being unknown. So at least people, they know what they're getting. Rarely have to audition for a job because, oh look, it's a Barry from EastEnders type role. We give it to Shaun Williamson, you know. So I owe it a lot. Are
you back in Panto again this year?
Oh yes, I am. I'm at the Alban Arena in St Albans, Jack and the Beanstalk. I play the Giants henchman Luke Backenanger. Again, anyone under the age of 25, don't worry about it.
Exactly.
Well, Shaun, it's been great talking to you as always. Great to have you on the show. Let's get Barryoke to Northern Ireland sometime very soon. Before you go, give us the details again if people want to get their hands on that snoring device.
They can go to mutesnoring.com. There's an excellent Facebook page. They're on Instagram. And if you read up on it and you're convinced it's for you, like I said, you can get a hold of it at Amazon UK, Holland and Barrett, online, Medicare in Northern Ireland stock it. So it's right on your doorstep.
Brilliant, Shaun. Good to see you. Bye-bye. Okay, we're going to finish the show this week with a scary little song that's just been released in time for Halloween. Davy McLarnon is the man behind it. We'll find out all about his new music and what he's been up to because he joins us in the studio. Davy, how are you?
Hello, Robin. Nice to see you.
Good to see you. So before we talk about the new stuff, let's talk about you as an artist, because a lot of people will remember you from Shock Treatment, which was one of Terry Hooley's bands way back in the day, wasn't it?
Yes, Terry signed us in front of about 12 people at the Harp Bar, I think, on 1979.
Yeah.
And as was the way at the time, then you waited a long time before your record ever appeared. Belfast Telegraph came out, I think, in 1980. Unbeknownst to the band, of course, the way Terry operated. You went into the shop and there it was in front of you. So and that band still goes to this day. Shock Treatment still perform.
Exactly, and those days, I mean, they're famous days now, and especially people remember them thanks to Good Vibrations, the film and stuff like that. So you're kind of part of Belfast music history, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely, and we didn't realise it at the time, of course, but and the film and the theatre production of Good Vibrations were both excellent, really good. Really enjoyed both of them.
And what about your relationship with Terry today? Do you still see him?
Still see Terry. Yeah, I saw Terry about a month ago. He DJ'd a show that we did in Bangor, and he was in tip-top form, because his health hasn't been great. But he was back to good old Terry. But he was behaving himself.
Yeah. Now, as well as Shock Treatment, you've been in other bands over the years as well. And I know on one occasion you got to support David Bowie, didn't you? Yeah.
That was in a band called Peace Frog, 90s band. That came about. Basically, David Bowie was touring at the time with Morrissey of the Smiths, and of course Morrissey, being Morrissey, fell out with Bowie and pulled out of the tour. Just as they were about to, I think they fell out in Glasgow or somewhere like that, and they were about to come to Belfast, and we got the call then through our manager, the great Steve Strange, to support Bowie. So we did that at the King's Hall.
Brilliant. That's something good to have on the CV, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And of course, to have Steve Strange as a manager as well is something good. Obviously, much missed in the industry.
What a guy, what a guy. Just so full of fun. He came on tour with the band, he would be in the back of the van, and I can still hear his laugh. What a guy.
All right. Tell us about the new project then. This kind of happened during lockdown, didn't it?
It's very much a lockdown thing because we're all twiddling our thumbs and wondering what to do with ourselves. There's no live shows going on, and I had just got into kind of home recording at that time. Sort of updated all my equipment and was dabbling for the first time in home recording. And through the internet, I got talking to Mike Williamson. Mike had been at school with me in Belfast, but had gone across the water to live in England. And through the internet again, through Facebook, actually, we discovered we're both getting to grips with home recording. So we started bouncing a few things backwards and forwards between each other, different tracks. And basically the outcome was that we decided that we would put together a virtual band. So Mike invited his brother Marty into the band, and between the three of us, we finally came up with the product you have now in your hands there, the Older Wiser album. You know, good pedigree from Marty had played with the likes of the Psychedelic Furs and Sinead O'Connor, and had gone across to make a living as a musician, so he's very top quality. If you listen to the guitar on that album, it's top class.
Excellent.
We better mention Mike.
Yes.
Mike's kind of the brains behind the whole operation. You know, all the designs and a lot of the lyrics, and we all write the songs. Mike would say that mine are chaotic when he gets them, and he puts them into some kind of organized format. So that's just the three of us. We recorded the album mostly in our bedrooms and in our outhouses.
Yeah.
I went over the end of last summer and did some vocals over in Southampton with the guys, but other than that, the whole thing was done in bedrooms, and it's a good album.
Well, I know the new single is very dark. What about the other songs on the album? What are they like?
Real mixture, as I say. Everybody's writing, so there's a complete mixture of things. The last single did pretty well. It was a song. Again, it was one of mine. Funny enough, the last two singles have both been started off as songs that I've written. The last one was Red Lines, which you may have heard was basically, it was just a dig at our local people up on the hill for not being able to get on and agree about anything. So Mark Crothers, if you're listening, and your Red Lines podcast, I've got some music for you.
Brilliant. And I see there's a track here called Donegadee as well.
It's one of Mike's, yeah. Oh, it's a dark, and that's going to very dark places on that one, yeah. But yeah. Donegadee, good song. 6 miles from Bangor to Donegadee gets referenced in it as well. Yeah.
Brilliant. And when you open the CD cover, you see the fabulous, famous shipwreck up in Donegal, which I remember from the Bono and Clannad music video.
Yeah. I'm not 100. I think that may be a photograph by a guy called Paul McElwain,
right?
Who dabbles in a bit of music and also big photographer, a friend of Mike's.
Excellent. Okay,
Ballyclare man.
Right, we'll talk about the new single, which is out in time for Halloween. It's called At the Cecil, and I didn't know too much about the Cecil Hotel until recently when I watched the Netflix documentary.
Yeah, same as me. I'd heard nothing about it until my son actually said, you want to watch this documentary on the Cecil Hotel in LA, and what a place that is, you know.
Exactly, yeah.
So it's a small hotel that's situated on Main, kind of a bit of a down and out sort of a place, not one somewhere you'd probably want to spend your 2 weeks vacation.
Yeah.
It's pretty much become a kind of a social housing project now, as far as I know. But back in the day, there were all kinds of people that had fallen on hard times were living in it, and with that came a whole series of mysterious disappearances, murders, and the one in particular that the documentary is about is a young Canadian traveller who had come and was staying there. And there was video footage of her which features in the documentary, which shows her desperately panicking in the lift and pressing all kinds of numbers and rushing in and out of the lift as if she was scared of something. And shortly after that, she completely disappears. And it's several weeks then before I think they find her body. And there had been a huge operation to try and find her, including police dogs who had been in the area where she was eventually found, which is on a water tank on the roof of the building.
Wow.
And that's where she was found. So the song basically, without going into too many gory details, sort of references the kind of mystery around this hotel, and the way that this story unfolded. So it's electronic as well, which is slightly different from what I would normally come up with. So that was the beauty of the home recording thing, was you start to fiddle around with things you weren't used to. And so the whole electronic vibe, Marty's guitar on it is sensational. So it's just an interesting topic.
Okay. Well, we're going to hear the song to finish the show in just a second. What about any gigs in the future lined up?
In terms of the Old Gods, because we're kind of, the two guys are over in England and I'm here, that presents obviously problems, but we will do something. But I prefer to get it done properly rather than have the guys come over and we kind of busk it. So I think if they could maybe put the basis of a good show together, and then I'll try and drop in on top of it. So we'll try and do something at some stage, yeah.
All right, well, if people want to get their hands on the new album, Older Wiser, where do they get that from?
Best place to get Older Wiser is via Bandcamp. So Oil Gods Bandcamp, and it's available in CD format that you have there, Robin, and also all the sort of the various electronic downloadable versions that you can get these days.
Excellent. Well, Davy, thank you so much for coming in. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
So let's finish the show with the song we've been talking about that famous Cecil Hotel. Here are the Owl Gods, and I'll see you back here same time next week. Bye-bye.
Looking in shades of darkness, looking for an alibi. Look how the still blue waters lie. Sitting in the marble lobby, no one wants to know my mind. See how that door's ajar and hear how I talk too much. I can only ascertain the facts. I don't know what's going down. Percy went and left his family. Stay in Maine and learn to die. And when you're calling, just don't look down. At the Cecil, there's only one way in, and there's only one way out. At the Cecil, there's only one way in, and there's only one way out. Where were you when we were looking? Where were you when the lights went out? Neon through the stained glass window flickers in the universe, pressing every single number, climbing higher than the sky, floating in the cold still water. But who pulled the lid back down? And when you're calling from La La Land, at the Cecil, there's only one way in, and there's only one way out. At the Cecil, there's only one way in, and there's only one way out.